He was with the thief
Yes.
in paradise that day.
Right. I didn't realize that Abraham's bosom was a part of Sheol, which was also hell, was in one part of that. And that's where Jesus went after he was crucified.
Well, if you think about it, when he made paradise, he made it for man. So he didn't take it off the earth. He put it in the earth.
Welcome to Carting Truth Podcast, a father-daughter duo focusing on sharing revelations through conversations with the Lord. Let's get started with today's episode. Welcome to Carting Truth Podcast. I'm Lindsay here with my dad, Shane, and today's episode is on an age-old question I'm sure many of you have had, as well as myself. So before Christ's crucifixion, no man could go into the heavens. Where did the people who died in faith go? I know the Bible says paradise. Where was paradise? And where is it now? We have such a cool episode for you today, and we cannot wait to get started.
Yes, Lindsay, that's a mystery. So we get from Jesus a lot of information. So when Jesus was dealing with the rich man and Lazarus, he tells us a story. And in that story, he talks about how that the rich man was taken into hell and that Lazarus was taken into paradise, into the bosom of Abraham. So what's up with all that?
I think a lot of people are wondering the same thing.
Well, paradise, according to Christ, as we just said, is in the belly of the earth. And then at his resurrection, it came out and went up into the heavenlies. So paradise now is in the heavenlies. So when Jesus said to the thief on the cross,
Today you'll be with me in paradise. That's always what I've been like, okay.
and that was true because paradise was in Sheol. So when they went down into Sheol, which is where hell side and where paradise side was, he was with the thief
Yes.
in paradise that day.
Right. I didn't realize that Abraham's bosom was a part of Sheol, which was also hell, was in one part of that. And that's where Jesus went after he was crucified.
Well, if you think about it, when he made paradise, he made it for man. So he didn't take it off the earth. He put it in the earth.
Right. And paradise was Eden at one point.
Yes, paradise was Eden, and that's where we're supposed to be. So that layer called Abraham's bosom was taken down into the earth. So you can't leave the earth. That's the thing,
Right.
So Enoch, he was translated, so he didn't die. So he not taste death.
Right.
So he can never die.
So he went to heaven.
Right.
But everyone else that perished went into Sheol.
Right. So probably Elijah, when he was caught up into the heavenly realm, because we got to remember that inside of the third heaven is the second, and inside of the second heaven, which was what we call outer space, is the earth.
Right.
So they're inside of each other.
Right.
So I don't think Elijah went up into the third heaven when he was caught up into the heavens. I think he was caught up into that area of paradise.
So what dictated whether you went to the heavenly or the paradise part of Sheol versus hell?
If you died in faith.
Okay.
So if you believed in God,
Mm-hmm.
and you believed that God was the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob,
Right.
or even before that, if you believed in God, like Noah,
Okay.
yeah, then when you died in that faith, then you would go into the paradise side.
Okay.
But if you were as a transgressor, which is the same way as saying you don't believe in God, because if you believe in God, you won't be the transgressor. You'll be trying to make your allegiance to him.
Right.
So yeah, that's what decides whether or not.
What part
Right.
that you would go in before the crucifixion?
So after the crucifixion, what happened?
I feel like you're going to tell us.
Well, when Jesus was crucified and he went down in there, he preached to those souls according to Peter.
Yes.
And they were to be judged the same as if somebody was in the flesh. Even though they had died and they were no longer in the flesh, those spirits were to be judged the same. They had to believe the same way. So when he went down there and preached to them, then they had to believe.
They had a chance to believe the gospel or
They
not.
had a chance.
They had a chance.
Just like we did. The earth seen Christ.
Right.
they see Christ.
And they
He's telling them that he's the Son of God. They had to choose to believe or not.
So he's given them a fair chance, free will, just like we have.
Yes.
And because he's just like that.
He is just good.
So merciful. Wow.
And you have to make your choice. So when Christ came out of the grave, right?
Mm-hmm.
Paradise came with him. And we'll see that in this passage. It actually makes that distinction in this passage. So let's go over to this passage. It's in Matthew chapter 27, and take a look at what happened after Christ's resurrection. So we're in Matthew chapter 27, and we're going to read these verses here and pull some things out, all right? Jesus, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost, and behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain, the top of the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent, and the graves were open, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose, and came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city and appeared to many. So we have this event, right?
I missed that at some point.
Yeah. So we had this event, and it is careful to tell us that after Jesus' resurrection, because Jesus was the first fruits, and he had to be the first fruits of the kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
The Hebrew says he has to have the preeminence over everything.
Okay.
So he came out and is telling us that after his resurrection, these saints, and it calls them their bodies, came out of the grave, right?
Right.
And appeared. They made a witness to people who are in the holy city.
Just like Jesus did.
Just like Jesus did. And that was to tell us that not only is Jesus going to resurrect, he's going to bring us with him.
Okay.
So he rose first, and
right.
After that, these bodies came out. So the question is, when they came out, did they go back in, or was it their souls?
Like, was it their flesh bodies that resurrected, or their soul bodies that we've talked about before?
Yeah, so the soul is in bodily shape.
Right.
So it would be spiritual.
Uh-huh.
And it was made, whenever the soul was made, the spirit was put into the body, and then the soul formed the shape of the body.
Right.
And it was the connector between the spirit and the body. That's what the soul's for.
Okay.
So when these came out, they were in bodily shape, or bodies, soul bodies, and they came out of the graves. They literally come up out of the graves. And you say, well, why did they come out of the graves? Because that's where they went in at. God does everything perfectly.
Yes.
So they came out, and they appeared to many, and they said, oh, this is a sign of Jesus' resurrection. That's what this is for. It's the sign to show us that he's going to resurrect us too. And they appeared to me. Now, it didn't say all of them did. It said many.
Right.
So, if it were their bodies, their physical bodies.
Right.
Because when Jesus rose, he went to Thomas and he said, handle me and see. Mm-hmm. That a spirit doesn't have flesh and bone as you see that I have. So when Jesus rose, he didn't have any blood, because flesh and blood can't inherit the kingdom of God. But flesh and bone that's spiritualized can. All right? So he appeared to Thomas. Mm-hmm. So the question is, was that their bones that came out? And I want to say that the Bible is telling us no, it's not.
And that makes
sense.
Bones. Okay.
So that must have been their soul bodies that came out, that appeared. Just like Samuel did. You remember the witch of Endor?
Yes.
His soul appeared to the witch and to Saul, right? So they could see it.
Mm-hmm. Just like the Antichrist, when he comes, he's going to be a soul man.
Yes.
Because he can do supernatural things that bodies can't do.
And they can't kill him. So let's go back and look at some other evidence that shows that their bones didn't come out with them. All right? Okay, let's go to the book of Acts. Okay, so we're in Acts 2, verses 27, 28, and I'm going to read verse 34. Because thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, neither wilt thou suffer thine Holy One to see corruption, that thou hast made known to me the ways of life. Thou shalt make me full of joy with thy countenance. Men and brethren, let me freely speak unto you of the patriarch David, that he is both dead and buried, and his sepulchre is with us unto this day. For David is not ascended into the heavens, but he saith himself, The Lord said unto my Lord, Sit thou on my right hand, until I make thy foes thy footstool. What happened here is David's saying, You're not going to leave my soul in hell, right?
Which would have meant Sheol. Because, I mean, he was in Abraham's book.
The paradise.
He was in paradise.
Well, hell just means the grave. You're not
Right.
going to leave my soul in the
Okay,
grave.
that always confused me because I'm like, there's no way David's in hell. Okay.
Down in the grave, you've got paradise and you've got the hell part, the fire part.
Okay.
All right. So what he's saying is this: you're not going to leave my soul down there, right?
Uh-huh.
But then Peter goes on to say, hey, he's not ascended, which means his body, the whole part of David's not ascended.
He's not been resurrected.
He's not been resurrected yet.
Hmm.
So these bodies that we just got through reading about were for a witness that these people who died in faith are no longer staying in Sheol. They came out because to be absent with the body is to be present with the Lord.
But their body's still there.
Yeah, but to be absent from your body is to be present with the Lord.
Right.
Their souls are present with the Lord, but their bodies are still in. And Peter said it. He said he's still here with us, meaning his body has not resurrected yet. So these people, I don't believe, are resurrected.
That is what I was getting at. Oh my goodness, they haven't been resurrected. I don't think that I ever figured that.
Yeah. Well, Paul says it too. So let's go over and see what Paul says while we're on this train of thought.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about it. All right.
Okay.
So we're in 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 23. And Paul says this, but every man in his own order. And then he lists that order. Christ the first fruits. All right. That's why it said that they didn't raise till after Christ.
Oh.
Because he's the first fruits. Afterward, they that are Christ at his coming. Now, this whole speech that Paul does in 1 Corinthians chapter 15 is about the resurrection of the body.
Okay.
So he says this is the order of the resurrection of the body. Christ was the first fruits.
Right.
And then those who are Christ at his coming. Not at his appearing, but at his coming. So when he comes back, he resurrects us.
All together.
Because he takes possession of the earth, which is the seventh trumpet, which is the last trumpet, which is what Paul's talking about. All right. So the resurrection has to take place after this order. So those people that we see over in Matthew 27 must have been their soul bodies.
Because they're going to get resurrected with the rest of us.
Right.
When Jesus returns, the one resurrection, no, pre-tribulation rapture, like all together.
Together. Now, there's another verse that says that has to happen that way.
More proof.
Let's go over to the book of Hebrews.
Okay.
The very last two verses of chapter 11.
Okay.
So this chapter starts out by listing a bunch of people who died in faith, all right? So we're going into verse 39 of Hebrews 11, and it says this, And these all, having obtained a good report through faith, received not the promise, God having provided some better thing for us, that they without us should not be made perfect. So they can't be made perfect and resurrect in their bodies without us. Abraham couldn't. All these people that was listed, God is not going to give them their inheritance. They're not going to be made perfect without us. So the promise to Abraham was to inherit the land.
Right.
Well, you can't inherit something if you're dead.
Yeah.
You've got to be alive to inherit that, right?
Right.
So he's saying, I'm not going to allow Abraham and all these patriarchs to receive the promise and be made perfect without us.
Wow.
So nobody can be resurrected in parts. We all have to be resurrected at the same time.
Yes.
Can't be part pre, part mid, and part post. Have to be perfected.
Together.
Right. If not, then God becomes a respecter of persons.
Ooh.
He gives it to Abraham and Isaac and David and Solomon and all those people. He gives them life and their inheritance without us. And they become, resurrected in a perfect body, soul, mind without us. And that's what Hebrews saying can't happen. That's what those two verses are saying. God is not a respecter of persons, so he is not going to give them their inheritance without us.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's what the last trumpet is. That's what Paul was talking about. The last trumpet brings about the resurrection. We all are made perfect. We all get our inheritance. We all get our reward at the same time.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
God's good, and he's no respecter. You can't put one kid over the other one.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
Now, we get rewarded according to how we lived our lives. No doubt about that. But that reward comes at the same time. We all get rewarded at the same time. We all come to life and become whole and made perfect at the same time.
Wow.
So this paradise went from Adam and Eve,
The Garden of Eden.
went down into the belly of the earth, the heart.
Abraham's bosom.
Then when Christ resurrected, who purchased it through Abraham, brought it up into the heavenly place. And it is a pattern and a shadow of things to come. When they made the tabernacle, they said, make it after the pattern that was showed to thee in heaven. Well,
Okay.
what was the pattern? All right. You have this large area called paradise.
Yes.
You've got the holy place, which is the city. And then you got the Holy of Holies, which is God's throne in the midst of the city.
Okay.
So that pattern is coming to earth. So Abraham's bosom will lay down on Abraham's inheritance. And the spiritual and the physical will become one. Just like Jesus's body is spiritual and physical, just like our bodies are spiritual and physical, just like the new heavens and the new earth will be spiritual and physical combined.
Just like it was with Adam and Eve.
Right. The way it was meant to be.
The way it was meant to be. You can't thwart God's plan.
Right. So there'll be some that are in their blood in the new earth, as we talked, but their blood will be cleansed. There will be some that are heaven and earth hybrids, including Christ himself.
Yes.
And then there'll be us who are his body, so that we can interact with everybody. We can interact with angels because we're spiritual. We can interact with humans because we're human. That's why Jesus said to Thomas, "Fill me." Well, Thomas was still in his blood.
Yeah.
He appeared to him, right? They talked together.
Right.
He eat together.
Yes.
How can a spirit eat? And that's what this is all about. So that mystery is a huge thing, wherein God is bringing back and putting back together what he originally designed.
Yes.
He's showing us that that's going to happen by these saints appearing to people. Hey, they're no longer in Sheol. They're with me. To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord.
Yes. I think that answers a lot of questions too about after Jesus was crucified. Where did he go? He went to Sheol because it says he preached. So we talked about he preached to both sides of it, the ones who lived by faith and the ones that kind of rejected God. It answers so many questions about before Christ, what happened when you died? You couldn't go to heaven. I feel like
This is the question, how is he going to treat the people that have lived and died before he came?
yeah,
How do they get a chance?
exactly.
Right? They didn't have the gospel preached to them.
Right.
How do they enter into the gospel? Well, they died in faith.
Right. And Jesus came and preached the gospel to them, and they got free will to decide just like he did for us.
Correct.
Mind-blowing. Answers so many questions.
So when he was crucified, then the earth and the rocks rent in two.
Yes.
Which was showing there was an opening.
Oh, no way.
There was an opening.
That is so
That's why the earth rent.
I've always wondered. I just thought the earthquake was just something to be like, you've crucified the Son of God, just like a declaration of, but it really had a purpose.
It had a purpose. The purpose was ultimately showed in the ripping of the veil.
Right.
So the veil was put there to keep God's incorruptibility from destroying us.
Yes.
It was keeping us safe from God. not God's safe from us, because God's incorruptible.
Right.
He's all powerful, so we couldn't hurt him no matter what we did. But it was keeping us from being destroyed by him. So when Christ died, that rent through the veil not only rent that piece of cloth that was in the temple,
Yes.
it rent the veil that was between man and God throughout all of the spiritual eternity.
Right.
That veil was just a sign of the veil between us, because when God came down and visited Adam, right, there was no veil.
Right.
So he had to put the veil there when sin came here to keep him from destroying us, from destroying the earth and all that. He had to put a veil there.
Right.
That veil is getting thinner and thinner.
Yes.
That's why at the end we've been talking about, that there will be a breach. And that's what all these things that happen in Revelation is the veil gets so thin because sin is so bad that there's a breach in the veil. And that's why all these creatures and stuff. And I really think that's why the Antichrist can come upon the earth as a soul and be seen and interact with men.
Wow.
Yeah. So we are still looking for the red heifer. I still believe that's going to take place.
Yeah.
I still feel the peace over saying that that's going to take place.
You've been in so many situations where it's like the Lord tells you something and it's like the last minute. You're just like, okay, God, you told me this was going to happen. And it always happens.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing every time.
Did God say?
It's
the same thing.
Yes. Did God really say? The enemy tries to creep in and say, oh, you missed it. And, but all you can do is repeat what he tells you to share. And he does the rest.
The only thing that I'm concerned about is when they do it, how much time between the time of the actual ceremony happens and we find out.
That's a good question.
There has to be somebody in Jerusalem going to see the smoke of that heifer burning go up in the air and notify us somehow.
Yes, I know he'll give you confirmation so you know that you heard him correctly.
Yeah. Well, my understanding in February, he told me it was going to happen. And my understanding in him telling that happen, it was going to happen in the spring. So that's why I'm looking for the spring part,
Yes. The spring lasts until June 20th.
Yes.
We still have a lot that can happen, or maybe it's already happened and we'll find out about it later.
Maybe it'll happen and we won't find out about it till later. So I don't know how that's going to happen. I'm looking for it in the spring. And then, of course, our visions and stuff are showing us that the 70th week should start in October sometime.
Yes.
Maybe the last October. Or
if
maybe the first of October.
Prophetic vision, it's in October. That's another good one we can throw up there so you can see that the Lord made sure we knew something's going on in October.
Yes. So that's what's going to happen. Paradise is going to come back to the earth. This was all going to become one like it was originally meant to be.
We're all going to get resurrected together.
That's why we've seen these saints come out and appear to people to give us the assurance.
We want to see you in heaven.
It's a simple prayer. Just say, Lord, please come into my heart. Forgive me for my sins. Wash me in your blood. And you will live with him forever.
If you are enjoying the content and would like to support our ministry, you can do so through Venmo or PayPal. Our handle is @CardingTruth, or use our QR code. We want to thank you as always for hanging out with us at Carding Truth. This episode answered so many questions for me, and I hope that it did you as well. Any comments or questions, though, you can always throw those down in the comments. We love to hear from you. We read those comments and we try to respond to those. They are such a blessing. We want to give a huge shout out to our subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed yet, we would love if you would like, subscribe, and click that bell for more notifications. We have so many more End Times episodes coming up for you guys, and we hope that you come back and hang out with us again. We've got some exciting things coming. And from Carding Truth, we pray you are